sewing room.
All right, we are live. Patrick, are you ready for us? You're recording?
I think so. Hang on. Let's see. And record. All right.
All right. There we go. I see it. All right. It is 7:17. At 7:17, I'm going to call the December 16th Valley Park School Board of Education meeting to order. If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And going to begin our meeting with our mission statement for the Valley Park School District and the school board. It says, our mission is to provide a supportive, personalized environment in which students will grow strong intellectually, emotionally, physically, and socially today in preparation for tomorrow. Again, that is the reason that we meet here tonight. So and we look forward to opportunities to be able to provide those opportunities for our kids. Let's go ahead and start with 2.01, our learning report. Dr. Dilge.
Thank you, Dr. Picker. We're happy this evening. That's all right. We're happy this evening to have Julie Schrader, our SST coordinator, share our learning report this evening about the partnership plan between the special school district and the Valley Park School District. So Julie, I will turn it over to you. And I believe you can drive, and if not, let me know and I can help you.
All right. All right, is that presenting? Yep. Okay. Ooh, I like how it turns my face blue. So hopefully I did make sure I was on a white screen for most of it. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll this over. Let me move the sticky note real quick. All right. So as Dr. Dilge said, I'm Julie Schrader. I'm the special education administrator here in Valley Park. This is actually my 8th year, and this is the first time I think we've actually presented the full partnership plan to the board and to the community. So I'm really excited to be with you tonight to share this. And I'm going to, one, try not to read word for word on the slides. And two, my goal is really to just celebrate the amazing partnership that we have here in Valley Park with Special School District. And it really starts with our educators that are in the building every single day, working side by side in partnership with our general education teachers, with our building administrators. I'm embedded and have been for 8 years. Dr. Bailey was prior to me in our leadership team here in Valley Park. And in addition to that, we also obviously access all of our amazing resources through St. Louis County. And part of my goal for today was just to kind of go over, just like we do in Valley Park, part of what our partnership means, and then what that background is. And so our vision here is a partnership which provides that educational service and supplemental supports to enable every child to achieve his or her full potential. The other goal is also that this partnership will collaborate and share responsibility to provide those equitable and seamless implementation of services for every student. This is a little background for those that may not know parts of Special School District and what we do with that partnership. Obviously, a huge focus of what we do are the special education services. The other huge focus is that career and technical education across the county. We are very unique. We're the only district like this in the country that serves and operates like this. And we do serve all 22 partner districts across the St. Louis County. It's not in the partnership agreement, but I would also add, we also serve our students who attend private schools, and we do that through those SNAP services as well. So we have a number of students in our Valley Park community that do not attend our school that we do provide those services through, in addition to the evaluations. This is the specific vision, mission, and core value of that partnership plan, which is echoed in that initial slide as well. A big piece of what we'll talk about is how we do implement those special education services and that career technical education. And on this slide too, it talks about making sure that every student get what he or she needs. And it's very important here in Valley Park and across the county. It's not only our students with IEPs that we are focused on. And that's a really big part of what we do in Valley Park, is making sure we're focused on those early intervention and problem solving meetings for all of our students here in Valley Park. My goal tonight was to do a capture of what this partnership plan is. The entire document is about 40 pages. And so obviously I don't want to read all of those pages. So I'm really going to highlight some of the categories, what some of those indicators are, and then our overall celebrations and kind of our next steps. So our 10 categories that we do focus on is staffing, professional development, clarification of responsibilities, student services, that collaboration for continuous improvement, student data, transportation, technology, space allocation, and career technology. So for many people who are not familiar with special school district, all of those categories are what we do in schools on a daily basis. So this is just making sure that we're doing it in a collaborative effort, which we've been doing in Valley Park for many years. And the ratings, one thing I also want to point out on this, as we get to the slide later in the presentation when we go over our specific ratings, it's very much like standards-based grading. So we have the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, but a 3 is not a bad score for us. So a 3 does mean we're fully implementing. And as Dr. Dilge has focused on with us in the last year and a half, really thinking about the systems we have in place, the sources of evidence. And so that's really where that number 4 comes in. And we do have some indicators that we're definitely at a number 4. The majority of our responses are probably in that 3, but we definitely have some 4s as well. We do also have a couple of areas that aren't applicable. And when I did our ratings, I just took that out of that final score for us. Category 1 is that staffing, and there are about 5 to 10 indicators under each of these areas. So again, without highlighting every specific one, I really captured the pieces that are important to us in Valley Park. One of the biggest things, and we talk about this every year throughout our meetings here with the board and in our principal meetings and our administrative team, is about staff. And that first and foremost is the most important thing that we have. We collaborate daily with I collaborate daily with our administrators here. Everything from staff selection, hiring, reviewing candidates, the day-to-day supervision, evaluation, and then also retention. And we know this about our Valley Park team, but I want to specifically to special school district. Once we get our staff, they don't leave. And I'm really proud of that specifically in Valley Park. And in my former district, I have a lot of staff who reach out on a regular basis wanting to know when I have openings. So those relationships are really important. And I'm glad that that is carried over here at Valley Park as well. Another big piece of what we do is that multi-tiered system with RTI. And so we are doing CI3T, which is that comprehensive integrated 3-tiered system at the elementary school, and then multi-tiered instruction across the district. And then another big piece is staffing allocation. And I think that's actually a celebration of what we have in Valley Park. I have the flexibility to work with our administrative team and shift staff really honestly, even on a daily basis, especially now with the pandemic. So we have a situation, if we have to close down a classroom or I have staff out, I know where my staff are, I know what they're doing, and I can easily shift someone from the high school to the middle school to elementary school. So that day-to-day allocation right now is really critical, but it's really important on a normal year as well. Professional development, this has been an area of focus for us in the last year and a half, 2 years, and it's definitely been an increased area in our ratings, and really working with Dr. Savage and our PDC committee, and really making sure that we're customizing that learning. And again, not just for our students with special education needs, but really all of our students. So some of the topics that we've really focused on for data teaming, that IEP process, but even more so towards the bottom with differentiation and dyslexia, trauma-informed care, that social emotional learning, cultural proficiency, and equity. So making sure that we're doing professional development in partnership when it's appropriate, that our special school district staff attend Valley Park PD as appropriate. And we've even had opportunities where our Valley Park staff attend special school district trainings with us as well. And I'd like to also compliment, we do have a number of staff who really go above and beyond in doing some of those professional development. So I am not going to go by name, but I really appreciate our staff who are excited to share their areas of expertise within their buildings and then the district level as well. Clarification of responsibilities really goes through what I do in my role. A couple of years ago, we went from my role being with a regular area coordinator and really operating under a director. And a couple of years ago, that changed so that I'm the lead coordinator. So I no longer report to a director. I report directly to the assistant superintendent of partner districts. And we hit all of these things really hard with Valley Park. So I'm embedded in that team with Dr. Dilge with the strategic planning, everything from our referral and our identification process with IEPs, technology and resource, which is its own area. So I'll speak a little bit on that in a minute. And then that overall planning and support for our students in crisis. Student services. Again, this is an area that most districts have. So it's just really making sure that those pieces are in collaboration between special school district and Valley Park. A big piece on this that I do want to talk about is that transition planning. That's something that's really important to us. And that is really specific to our students with IEPs. And I think that that's another luxury we have here in Valley Park that I've never been a part of a district where those transitions go as smoothly. Our students know our campus. They know teachers who teach at all levels. And for me to be able to follow a student, and it gives me chills from early childhood all the way through elementary to middle to high. And my goal is to stay here for some of those first students that I transitioned from early childhood to kindergarten. I want to see them graduate. So I love the relationships that I have built with the families, and that goes down to our staff as well. All of our staff know all of our kids, and it's a really, we don't have that in other districts across the county. I'm really excited when Dr. Dilch talked about continuous improvement here for Valley Park. That's something we've been doing in special school district for a number of years. And I'm really excited to see where that takes us as a district and really looking at those systems, what's working, what can we improve on, and what can we get better at. And again, that's not just for our students with IEPs or special education services. That's really that collaborative effort across the whole district. Access to student data. Dr. Savage and I just worked on some of these pieces over the last week. So really diving deep into making sure that how we report our student data in Valley Park aligns with how we report it to DESE, with how it aligns with how we report with special school district. So one, we want to make sure that data is accurate. And the reason we want to make sure that data is accurate so that we know that when we're having dialogues about students, that we have the right information in front of us. And really that's to ensure that all of our students are making progress, whether it's in those academic areas or with social emotional learning. Transportation, always a celebration for Valley Park. I think since we've been here, we've pulled the majority of our students off our special school district transportation services. And that's because Valley Park has that commitment to do transportation for all. And that has really allowed inclusion for some of our students who in other districts may not be able to have that opportunity. And so we're really looking to make sure our students are a part of their community bus unless they do need a separate transportation service. And usually that's around safety or for students who really just need a smaller student population in that environment. Technology, a big shout out to Patrick and his team. This has been one of the biggest celebrations in the last year. This started before the pandemic. So I want to make sure that we celebrate that. The conversations that I've had with Patrick and his team over the last year, Patrick knows some things that are happening in a special school district with technology before I do sometimes. And that's because he's always having that communication. But we had a commitment once the pandemic started, to make sure, obviously, one, all of our students had the devices they needed, but that our staff had the devices they needed too. We were one of the first districts in St. Louis County to ensure that our teacher assistants had devices secured for them, and they went out immediately. We did not have that this spring. This spring, our teacher assistants did not get to do what they love and what they need to do to support students. We were up and running by the first day of school, and that is because of him and his team. With that became a lot of technology learning, because that staff didn't have the devices, so they didn't need the training. And that was rapid. And we have a couple of teacher assistants who are really great with technology, and they help support as well. So it was really, again, when we talk about the partnership, it is at every level of the staff that we have here in Valley Park. So a big shout out to Patrick and his team. So thank you for that. Space allocation, again, a huge celebration for Valley Park. It is a luxury. Across the county, space is limited in some of our buildings. We have the space. It is always a conversation with me and our teachers. We know that with the high school renovations in the last couple of years, that was a priority. And what it shows, the space is great. What it shows, though, is the value of the teachers and those students. I've been a teacher in a space that doesn't feel good. Our kids feel good when they walk into our spaces, and that's really, really important. Career tech ed, we have a high number of students who access this. We do a great job. A shout out to Emma, our new high school counselor. I think she's going to continue to develop how we access this along with Dr. Looning. The other piece on this as well, even though it's not mentioned here, is we filter this all the way down. So yes, we have the access to South Tech and the programs they offer, but we also do a really great job, and our teacher who leads that program here at the high school with our CBVI program too, and that access to the vocational skill program for the students who need it after they leave high school. So how are we doing? What I did is just really look at those overall ratings, and I wanted to show the board and the community really where we're maintaining, and we've been maintaining for a while, those areas of increase that I really spoke about as we went through. And we do have 2 areas of the decrease, but I want to point out that that's not because we're not doing those things well. Those are 2 areas that we have huge changes in. So the continuous improvement, when we know better, we do better. And again, I'm going to compliment Dr. Dilge for having that focus here in Valley Park, because I see great things as a result of that for the district. And then the access to student data is simply because we've switched to a new information system in the last year, and we're still really learning how to use that program to our advantage. So I anticipate those will go back up to an increase or maintain in the upcoming years. But we're doing great, and we've been doing great for a really long time. With that, I tried to highlight some of those celebrations as I went through, but really, again, this is day-to-day collaboration. This is a representation of what we do every day, and it's not just me. It is our staff. It is special school district staff. I didn't mention early childhood because I am separate than early childhood, but our early childhood is also a huge strength and celebration in this district. The professional development that we do collaboratively, our IEP process, our shared resources and technology, that transition planning. And then I think a huge highlight for me, when I started in Valley Park, I was only here 80% of the time because I had a huge other part of my job with our vocational skill program. As much as I was really sad to lose that part of my job because of restructuring, me being here every single day is a blessing, and I'm really grateful to have that opportunity. Next steps, again, really just practicing the reflective practices, all the way from individual leadership teams through our district leadership team, always continuing to fine tune those processes around individual and groups with our students. And then just continuing to shore up that documentation and that evidence. And I just wanted to end because this is truly, again, I want to retire from Valley Park. I love what I do here. I feel grateful to be in this position. And I love this. This is part of the partnership plan, but ultimately the heart of the educational partnership agreement is to do what's best for kids in an integrated and seamless manner. Again, I'm one person doing this job here in Valley Park. It's really our whole community. It's our whole team. And so I hope this is maybe some new information for you. If you haven't seen this document before, I'm excited. I'm nervous always to present, but it was a really easy thing to do because I'm proud to be here. I'm proud of my staff and I'm proud of this team.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Schrader?
No, I have a couple comments.
Yeah.
Julie, we at Valley Park are lucky to have you. We've been proud of you since you took over the job. From Matt, I think it was a great pick. I know myself and many other board members feel you a part of the Valley Park group. You're not a separate entity. We think of you as family. And it shows that you're a great leader by the successes that you have with your students and how you integrated into our staff. So I just want to say we're lucky to have you, and we hope you stick around till you retire.
I hope so.
And I absolutely agree with that. We are lucky. We're lucky to have SSD and we're lucky to have you and all of the staff.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. Bailey because when he took the job and he told me how great it was, we've had this plan for a really long time. I told him year one, I said, when you leave, I want your job. So this was in works for a really long time prior to me even coming.
I know that you have a lot of students that really like routine, and so with your with the transition and with the difficulties of everything being very different this year, especially going from full virtual to end school. How has that been for your teachers and for that transition, especially those moving from 5th grade to 6th grade and 8th grade to 9th grade?
I think our students have really surprised us in a really celebration and positive way. We still did our normal meetings in the spring. So even with everything going on, we had early childhood meetings. We had middle school, elementary to middle school to high school. And we actually start those transitions in January. And so staff had already been down to that sending school, doing observations. So we already knew the kids in person before we left school. And so that's something that we really focused on is that, I tried to get down to the early childhood around this time of year. I know the kids, but we have staff who walk around the buildings. And so we just know them. But I also think it helps that my background is middle school as a teacher. And so I had the luxury of already doing that as, in my career. And so that I think that has helped as well. But overall, I think our students and our staff have done amazing with that. We work out kinks every single day, but our team, they're proactive, but then they're also really responsive to those needs. So.
Great. I know we've seen some great things from them. So again, thank you for all the work. Echo what Del and Pete were saying as well. So, well, thank you very much. Is there anything anybody else has to say?
I just wanted to say on a personal note, as a child or a parent of a child who does access your services, between Christy Weber and your really strong team, he has been successful beyond our wildest dreams. So Thank you to you and all of your team because it's been amazing to watch.
Absolutely. I saw him today and he was practicing flexibility. So he was doing a great job.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. A lot of information there for sure, but that's good stuff.
Thank you, Julie.
So,
Julie, thank you for everything your group does. Austin's been in special school district from preschool up to its current years. So it's just incredible to see the progress.
It is. And I apologize. I was like, I'm going to do this in 5 minutes, but then I get excited. So I know I took a little longer than I anticipated, but hopefully it was great information for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of good information. So. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to 2.02 instructional delivery model. Dr. Dilch.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Picker. And thanks again, Julie, for your work and for presenting the partnership plan. It's something that's been in place here in the district for many years, but we thought it was time to kind of make that transparent and public and share that with those that we're not as intimate with some of the things going on with our partnership that we're very proud of. So thanks, Julie, for all your hard work in putting that together and presenting tonight as well. Really just wanted to kind of give an update, a little bit about where we've been since we've returned to school in person back in September, and where we plan to go based on the data and the knowledge that we now have, having been in school anywhere between 8 and 12 weeks of in-person learning, depending on your grade level and building. Before I kind of jump into some of the information, I really also just want to express my gratitude to our parents, our students, and particularly our teachers. Certainly, this has been a trying year for everyone. I mentioned way back in July, this was going to be a learning experience for all of us. Maybe not the one we would have charted for ourselves. And certainly it has presented many more challenges than any of us could have anticipated. But I think we've actually had a lot of celebrations, much like Julie mentioned, with the students that SSD serves through Valley Park. I think we found many celebrations along the way. I think we've attached ourselves to processes and systems that will maintain and only help us to continue to grow moving forward. And we've also learned from our mistakes, and we've reflected on those, and that's what good educators, good people do. So overall, I'm really proud of where everyone has come. I'm usually not one who is short for words, but I've often struggled to express my appreciation and gratitude really to the entire community for how far we've come since July. And I know we've got much better days ahead of us. So thank you to everyone. Also, thank you to the board for the support so far this school year. So as I mentioned, if I can move along here, when I think about our return to learn plan and where we've been since September till now, 3 words really come to mind. Those 3 words are safety, stress, and success. And so as we talk about our learning over the last 8 to 12 weeks, it'll really be under those 3 pillars in which we approach tonight's presentation: safety, stress, and success. So first of all, let's think about the safety aspect of schooling during the 2020 school year. When we started having conversations about the 2020 school year, really back in March and April and all throughout the summer, our focus and our priority was really on the health aspect of schooling. So most of our time, much of our energy, a lot of our planning went into being responsive to the pandemic and specific to the COVID-19 measures that we would have to take to even entertain the possibility of safely educating students and protecting our students and staff. So we've talked about those and we've published those endlessly. It's all the safety mitigations we've put in place, from mask wearing, hand sanitizer, physical distancing. Obviously, we've alternated bus routes and bell schedules to reduce capacity, added all kinds of cleaning procedures and tools and supplies to our classrooms and our routines. And obviously, now that we're back in school, a lot of that health awareness is about identifying sick students and sending them home and quarantining them, and also having to deal with our staff as they become close contacts or test positive for COVID-19. So that's kind of the health aspect of safety. But I think really since September, our mindset has shifted a little bit more to the wellness aspect of safety, and that has really become more our priority. Specifically, I think the thing that we've been most aware of is the importance of monitoring both our students and staff social and emotional well-being. I think from an outside perspective, it's hard to articulate how different school is in 2020. It's not the school that most of us adults remember going to. And quite frankly, it looks very different than the school did in February of 2020. And so that's presented a number of different challenges for us. First of all, we've obviously have struggled to maintain connectivity with our students and our families throughout the pandemic. And in June, July, and August, connectivity looked like hotspots and Wi-Fi on our buses. But even as we've come back to in-person learning, the advantages are, obviously, we're starting to get that human connectivity to kind of fulfill our social emotional buckets. But I will also tell you, despite being face-to-face, connectivity is still a struggle. Our teachers aren't allowed to socialize or eat together in lunchrooms. We ask them to still collaborate and attend meetings virtually for everybody's safety. Most of our students are cohorted together throughout the entire day at the elementary level, meaning they don't get to see their other grade level peers. Even our lunchrooms look and feel very differently, with students sitting, everyone facing one direction, 6 feet apart, not a lot of social interaction. So even though we're physically in school, connectivity is still a little bit of a challenge in pandemic education. The other wellness aspect that has presented some real challenges for us so far, being back in person, is the demand on our health services. The reality is our community had a high need for health services long before the pandemic. When you look at a population that services almost 50% free and reduced lunch, that also typically indicates that there's a need for health and medical services as well. Some families do not have access to high quality healthcare. Others have to decide to prioritize healthcare over the other demands of their personal and home lives. And some, quite honestly, don't even have medical benefits to access in a time of a crisis. And so what that has meant for us is, normally on a day-to-day basis in a traditional school year, our nurse and her assistant are responsible for meeting a lot of day-to-day medical needs that normal healthcare providers would provide to students. This now with the pandemic means that she's often in isolation, typically treating sick students with illness who many times have symptoms of COVID. And she must not only place herself in risk, but she also has to then determine what is best for that student, their classmates, and overall our school district by making tough decisions about quarantining students and staff. And so the time demand, the pull to keep our school healthy and safe has increased significantly. Another aspect of wellness that the school district has really kind of taken responsibility for and shouldered, and I think done a great job of, is meeting the need of our food insecure families. And that's looked different in a lot of different ways. Initially, it was with curbside pickup meals, which still continues for our families, even with in-person learning taking place. It also has meant us delivering meals to different locations and partnering with community partners to provide more food resources. I'll tell you, one of the celebrations we've had around wellness and food has been the grants we've received that allow us to feed every student, regardless of income, breakfast and lunch every day if they seek it. I think this has allowed us to eliminate a stigma around needing food. And I think it's important because we know that in order for students to learn successfully, we have to meet those needs of security, safety, and food is certainly one of those. So that's been a celebration. The other aspect of wellness that I think we're struggling with right now as we remain in person is the delivery of instruction. Because we typically have anywhere between 10 and 15% of our student population quarantined at home, our teachers are having to plan and prep and communicate with students both in person and virtually through our live streaming methods. So it certainly has added another layer of difficulty to an already taxing and very difficult profession of education. They're continually assessing their practice, they're revising, they've been learning new tips and tricks with technology and how to deliver instruction really throughout the school year. And then the other wellness aspect that I think we need to be cognizant of is balancing of expectations, particularly that of our teachers. Our teachers by nature are perfectionists who want to do the very best by our students, and that is meeting their needs socially, emotionally, and academically. And I think oftentimes our teachers are a little bit hindered and worried that they're not providing the best education possible because they're trying to do everything for everybody. They're trying to meet the needs of the students in front of them, while engaging students who are on a device at home, learning remotely, while also thinking about everybody's safety, from their own to our students and their other staff mates as well. So that balancing of expectation has added another layer of complexity when we think about the wellness of our community. The other word that comes to mind the most throughout in-person learning is stress. That can also be exaggerated into strain and struggle. We are maintaining high quality of in-person instruction, but it isn't without its stretches of our system. Many people, it may be so far ago that many people don't remember, but there was a time this school year where we did not have a full bus fleet for 3 weeks. And yet, as we often do in our community, we rallied around each other, we problem solved quickly, and we continued to safely transport students to and from school with minimal hiccups. Another stretch on our system has been the reallocation of positions. Our staffing model in Valley Park is not large to begin with, but knowing that the best thing we could do for our students is provide them with Valley Park educators, we have reallocated positions like our elementary librarian. We've reused one of our reading specialists to serve first in the classroom, now in a virtual role. Similarly with our literacy coach. Many times throughout the day, other teachers, specialists, and administrators are performing duties in classrooms, either subbing or teaching, or oftentimes working in cafeterias, monitoring bus duty, et cetera, to meet the needs of our kids. But it has stretched our system. One of the biggest strains on our system during in-person learning has been just the overall wellness of our students. I won't go into it again too much, but really trying to identify sick students while still meeting the day-to-day medical needs of our recurring students is significant. That significance has only been compounded by the mystery that is contact tracing. One individual contact tracing procedure can take anywhere between 2 to 4 and upwards of 8 to 12 hours. It is not uncommon for our district nurse or one of our administrators to be working late into the night and early mornings, and often spending all days Fridays and most of their weekends trying to contact trace so that we can keep our students and staff as healthy and safe as possible. I've already mentioned the challenges that our teachers are doing, and they're doing an exemplary job of teaching and planning for our students through a number of modalities, both in person and live streaming. I know they're very difficult on themselves, but they really should be commended for their efforts to continue to make this as successful as it's been, because it's really their work that's making this possible. In addition to the teaching load of our teachers, I think we also need to be aware of the stresses that it causes to manage the mitigation practices and behaviors every day. It's depleting. It'll drain your energy. Our students are doing a really good job of mask wearing and distancing and using their hand sanitizer. But like any behavior, when you're talking with students, it also involves a constant reminder. Whether that's slightly pulling up your mask over your nose, or telling them to hit the hand sanitizer after recess, or encouraging them to space out in the hallways. Our students are doing a good job, but our teachers, because they're cognizant of the environment we're working in, are also doing a good job in constantly managing those behaviors along the way. Perhaps the biggest struggle has been many weeks staffing our instruction. Each week, as you'll see down the road here, we typically have anywhere between 10 and 13 staff members quarantined. That's in addition to staff members that have to be out for FMLA reasons or through general sickness as well. And so we've been strategic about how we've handled that, and we've been able to consistently fill those at a very high rate, but it has really stretched our system to the boundaries of what we're capable of doing. Julie mentioned some of the challenges that we have with SSD. Because our teachers are unable to collaborate physically, and because we have different things like altered bell schedules, as well as trying to meet the needs of our students face-to-face, and then connecting with our virtual students at a later time, we're struggling to find times for IEP meetings and problem-solving meetings. We're doing it, but oftentimes that takes place on those Fridays that we currently are using for virtual learning as well. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the substantial financial limitations that have stressed our system this school year. We probably all remember last spring, we actually had a revenue loss in our district because of the school closure of over $800,000. That was before the governor decided that he was also going to withhold funding from public schools, including our school district, which accounted for almost another $600,000. And I know Susan's on the call and watching tonight. I believe when we adopted our budget in June, we were one of the few districts that actually decided to attack those budget limitations head on. And so rather than dipping into our limited fund balance to do so, we made some really difficult choices with our budget to reduce our budget by $600,000 so that we could maintain a healthy financial withholding so that we have those in the case we need those in the future. And then finally, I think a struggle for all of us has been that balance of the human emotion. We all know that schools are one of the safest places for students and staff. Our data shows that. Data across the state and the country shows it. It's where fidelity of those safety mitigation practices are happening the most and with the best results. That being said, you can't remove the angst and worry that exist in people. And we all experience that, and we present that in different ways. Some of us, it's minimal, some of us, it's extreme, but it's all understandable. And from our teacher standpoint and our staff standpoint, they're not only worried about our student safety, but they're questioning their safety as well. And in addition to that, they're still worried about student success and making sure all of our kids get to the places they need to be successful. We know we can do in-person learning. We are finding success with it, but I want to be very clear. It's not a perfect scenario. This is not a banner year for education in Valley Park or any school district in the country. And so with our success also comes a multitude of things that really stretch our system to the very limit. Now, when I talk about success, what I'm most proud of is that we've had sustainable success. So as I mentioned earlier, some of our youngest learners, they've been back in school for 12 weeks since the end of September. And then our middle school and high school students, we started bringing them back towards the end of October. So they've been in school upwards of 8 weeks. And I really believe it's not one thing, but multiple things we're doing to be very strategic in our approach to make this happen. Some of those things included making sure we had multiple subs who agreed to show up every day before we ever had an absence because we knew the quarantines were going to happen. One of the things that's been a success is the point of our contact tracing and our school nurse being so diligent about putting students out. We've been very intentional, and I think a real success story has been that we've been in school 4 days a week. And I think that model has allowed teachers to maximize learning time, focus on their students, but also have the ability to plan, collaborate, and prepare differently on those Fridays for virtual instruction. Those Fridays have also allowed our upper level students to continue to engage in virtual instruction. So if we need to go back to virtual at any point, they're prepared. And as our attendance has showed, it's very likely that our students will have to learn, even if it's not a whole class or a whole grade level. Individually, it's likely they're going to have to quarantine at some point and learn virtually. So it's been good to engage them in that type of learning. We've been posting our COVID data weekly for our community, and you can see things have been pretty stable. Our quarantine staff is very stable between 11 and 14. Our positive tests are small in number. And other than one of our initial weeks back, our second week back with full pre-K through 12, we've seen on average about 35 students quarantining a week, which are pretty stable numbers for us. Now, those aren't the only numbers I look at. Obviously, we all look at what's going on in the public We see the county numbers, the city numbers, the nation numbers going up. And I also take those COVID data numbers with a grain of salt. So while I don't see a lot of positivity numbers, I also know that we are quarantining students because they have symptoms of COVID, and we're placing them out 2 weeks. I also look at our district attendance to determine kind of the health and wellness. And overall, I think we're doing very well. When you look at our student attendance metrics, as a district, we have hovered right around 90% attendance since we brought everybody back at the end of October. In a normal school year, 90% attendance in Valley Park or anywhere in the state is considered a metric of success. Now, if you want to break that down by individual buildings, of course, from week to week and day to day, it varies a little bit. But you'll see some weeks, you'll see places like the middle school with 96% attendance. And in low weeks, you'll see around 85% attendance. But I think the fact that we can keep our school healthy and open during a pandemic with 85 to 90+% student attendance is a measure of success. The other success that I look at, and I know it was a concern, it was certainly a concern of mine dating back to this summer, was can we keep our buildings open because can we staff it with enough adults? And the reality is, since November 1st, since that first week when we were back with all K through 12 students, our substitute fill rate has been 96%. There are many weeks during the 1920 school year where we wouldn't hit 96%. And we did have some struggles and we did have some strains that first week when we had everyone back, and we had to learn and we had to adjust and we had to make more decisions. But since that time, we've responded and done so in a way that allows our schools to successfully stay open for learning. So moving forward, what is our plan? Well, our plan when we come back from winter break, first of all, we need to remember we'll actually still be in the second quarter. That's because this school year is the first year that we've had to respond to the governor's statute about the start of the school year. So we will not actually finish the second quarter and the first semester until January. But when we come back from winter break, we're going to continue educating students in person Monday through Thursday. And then we'll continue to use Friday for those virtual learning days. The reasons behind it are, I've already articulated many of them. It gives us our best opportunity to fill our sub positions. I think our teachers are doing a really good job of maximizing the instructional time they have when they have students in person. It gives them the definite time they need to continue to plan and prep for teaching in multiple modalities. It also gives them time for those IEP, those problem-solving meetings, and collaboration time. It acknowledges that teaching in a pandemic is very different than a normal year. And what I think it does is it gives us balance for our teachers. And when we can give our teachers balance, that makes them better teachers. I also think when we give them balance, it means they have less stress, which I think is important because I think more stress oftentimes equals more illness. Plus, for our students, this allows our virtual students to get more additional support and intervention time. From an operations standpoint, it's additional time to contact trace, and it's typically at the end of the week we're doing the most contact tracing. It continues to allow us to do deep cleaning, and just simple math will tell us that if we're reducing our capacity in our buildings by 20% each week, we're also reducing our transmission risk by that much as well. Some other benefits of continuing to teach Monday through Thursday in person. One, we continue to meet the social emotional needs of our kids. We know our preference for everyone is in-person learning, but it also gives us the agility to adjust based on situations and statistics. And those situations may be external data points, or they could be internal data points like our own attendance or quarantine numbers. We have to be honest about ourselves. We're entering a very unknown time between January and March. We're about to enter a time where most people will not be in structured environments like schools, where they will practice with fidelity all those mitigation techniques. And when they don't practice those techniques, that means positivity rates and transmission goes up. So we've got to be cognizant of that, and we've got to watch that. We also know we're going to hit the peak of flu season, and we don't know what that will look like given everything that's going on with COVID. Add that to the typical things going on with the vaccines that are being released and the optimism surrounding that, but also combine that with the reality that vaccines for the general public are not going to arrive till probably March at the earliest to really make an impact. And quite honestly, the vaccines aren't going to arrive in time to make an impact on this current school year. I think another measuring stick, though not all that important, is one to be cognizant of. Other school districts have tried to do 5 days a week and are starting to recognize the challenges of that. And so in doing so, they've reached out to us because they know we're having success with the 4-day week. In the last 2 weeks, 2 large school districts have adopted going to school 4 days a week in person and then using that 5th day as virtual. And there's as many as 7 that are currently exploring that and or presenting that to their Board of Education, in part because of the success that they're seeing us have here in Valley Park. So I'm really pleased with the work of everyone, from operations and classified staff all the way, of course, to our teachers. I'm proud of our students. I'm thankful for the partnership of our families. And I think it's in our best interest, if we want to go to school in person as much as possible, to continue with the success that we have found, so that we don't try to stretch our system so thin that we reach a breaking point and have to go back to full virtual or reduce to less days in the future. So our plan for right now is Monday through Thursday, in-person learning with virtual learning still occurring on Friday. We'll reassess as we get closer to the third quarter. It's what we've done all along. That will give us more data points, another 12 weeks of data points, to see where everything is and to see what the recommendation is for the fourth quarter. Any questions?
Any questions?
I just have a really quick comment, and I'm going to be fast. But I just wanted to say thanks to all those people who were flexible and got on those buses and rode with the kids, so that we have VP staff on those buses with the kids. I think that meant a lot. It meant a lot to me. I hope that everybody understands the sacrifice they made to do that. I'm happy that they were there with the kids. Even if they didn't know them personally, if they knew they were from Valley Park, then they knew they were with somebody who cared about them. And the teachers and different people who have had to be flexible in their positions, it's just so appreciated that everybody's just being a team. And from a financial standpoint, the fact that everyone was able to, crunch those numbers so that it didn't hurt as bad. I mean, that kind of commitment is really commendable. And of course, the technology team, we couldn't do it without you. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I want to say, Tim, thanks a lot for your leadership, because that's the most detailed report that I've ever seen from a superintendent in my 25 years on the board. And I think your diligent leadership has made this a success, and that's why people are following our lead in St. Louis County, and somebody besides me and our board needs to recognize that. And I hope everybody on YouTube heard that.
Absolutely agreed.
All right. Anybody else? Make sure we give everybody an opportunity. All right. Pete, Della, couldn't agree with you guys more. Great job. It's been very inspiring to see the teachers all working together, and the little bit that I've been able to see in person, just absolutely outstanding. So thank you for the work that all of our administrators and teachers are doing. Great job. Moving on to 2.03, public comment on posted agenda items. We had none. So we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the agenda item 3.01. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve 3.01.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Second, Pete. Okay. Let's go ahead and we'll go down my list for votes again, since we're doing this meeting virtually. Faye,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Della,
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. All right, so we have an agenda. Next is our consent items. We'll let's see, our consent items 4.01, the approval of the regular session minutes from November the 18th. 4.02, the approval of check register from December 2020. 4.03, the obsolescence of technology and equipment. And 4.04, the second reading and approval of those policies down there, which mostly deal with sexual harassment. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read those. I will make a motion to approve our consent items. Would anybody like to second that?
Second.
I'd
Second,
like to
Pete.
pull something. I'd
And
like to
yep, that was my next question. Does anybody want to
Okay.
pull anything? Della, I know what you want to pull.
4.03. I know it's my
4.0.
trade, right?
We'll go ahead and pull 4.03. Does anybody want to pull anything else? All right, so
Lisa,
let's
you
go.
need to pull 4.02.
I do not believe so this time.
It shouldn't. Yeah.
Thank you.
So so we'll go ahead and amend that motion. I'll make a motion to approve 4.01, 4.02, and 4.04. So can I get a second for that?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Adam. And a vote for those three items. We'll start with Pete this time.
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Della,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
and Faye.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. All right, so those three consent items have passed. Now we'll pull out 4.03. Della, what would you like to ask Dr. Jones?
So I just, as always, I always like to know what the plan is for the equipment that we're pulling as obsolete and see if any of it's salvageable and can be made available to our students and our constituents for their personal use, whether through like a purchase program, something like that. I just want to know if we have a plan for that.
Definitely. Thank you for pulling that out, because we talk all the time on this. Of the obsolete equipment, a majority of it is like broken devices over the past year that are kind of taking up space that are unsalvageable, because Mike pretty much builds all that stuff, and whatever he can Frankenstein together, he cobbles it together. But that said, there's a significant amount that, as we are getting some of these reinforcements in that we ordered back in August, they're starting to come in now, which is starting to get rid of some of the 8-year-old laptops that are still functional, that are just old. You know, the kids are feeling it at home. But that's like we always say, we have that agreement with MRC where we would recycle with them, they would reload them and make them available for purchase. And I know we had talked last year about maybe a different structure on that, like with their store, maybe having some outlet at our location. So that's definitely, those considerations are still there. I know with the COVID, we're going to have to, kind of adjust a little bit, because I'm not sure if we can have it on campus with all that, increased community and everything. But the intent is still to maintain that, where anything that's salvageable, we can work with the third-party reseller to make that functional and get it back out. Like I said, priority to our community with the special pricing. And then once we go through that, it can become theirs to recycle and burn up and melt away.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And it's on the radar. So I'm glad you brought it up so we can get that out there on the YouTube world so they know that it's coming. There'll be an amount of computers. I'm not sure how many will be worthy of use, but there will be some.
I know that, like you said, the hours of operation last year and the location made it hard for people to access it. So that was, that was kind of a discouraging thing, but I'm glad that you're thinking of alternatives for this year and make it more acceptable.
Well, I mean, after last year, we monitor and adjust. We saw that, and I talked to them with the owners and kind of negotiated, and they were willing to do whatever it kind of took. to try to adjust to help meet our needs. So I appreciate that partnership, and it's a benefit to the district.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Absolutely. So our first order of business, though, is does anybody else have any questions for Dr. Jones, or a comment on the technology? All right. So our first order of business does with those devices does have to be making them obsolete, so he can do what he needs to with them. So I will make a motion to approve consent item 4.03. Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and vote on 4.03, the obsolescence of technology equipment. We'll begin with Lisa.
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Della,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Faye,
Aye.
and Pete. All right, and I'm an aye as well. So again, Adam, thank you, or Dr. Jones, rather, thank you for your help with that. All right, moving on to 5.01, the approval of the district financial audit. Ms. Susan Dawson.
Thank you. So our auditors, Fick, Eggemeyer, and Williamson, completed their audit of our financial statements, and Keith Slusser is here to present their findings.
Good evening, everyone. I'm assuming everyone has a digital copy, or at least access to it. So I'll kind of hit the highlights. I'll tell you the PDF page numbers. So if you're, try to make it easier. I'm trying to learn through Zoom, and I learned when I started saying page numbers, it would confuse people because they'd be flipping through their Zoom. So I'm going to tell you PDF page numbers. So page 4 and 5 of the PDF is our independent auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified opinion. That is the kind of opinion you want to receive. In layman's term, I guess you'd call it a clean opinion. Back in the day, it was called an unqualified opinion. That sounded bad, sounded like someone was unqualified. So they have now changed it to say it's an unmodified opinion. Oh, there we go. I got it right there in front of me. The next page is actually page 7, which you were just on of the PDF. This is a balance sheet. This is where we combine all our funds together. You're used to seeing it broken out by fund. This shows that everything combined. As of the end of the year, June 30th, we were at 4.7 million of cash. And that's up from the 4,100,000 it was last year. So I find the only two things board members care about are how much cash do we have, and is it a clean opinion? So for those of you that are, you can zone out now if you would like. Page 9. It shows you a breakout by fund of those cash balances. So we have 2.8 million in the general fund, 1.9 million in debt service, and then 12,878 in the capital projects fund. So the 2 pages from here on page 11 shows you how the cash went up by that 700,000 from year to year. So we can see that the general fund went up 672,000. Debt service went up 449,000. And as we continue to spend down the bond, which at 12,878, you can see we just about spent down all the bond proceeds. We got a little bit left in there, but that kind of shows you how our cash went up from year to year and by fund. Obviously, the general fund transfers cash to the special revenue fund to zero it out, and then also to the capital projects fund from year to year. 2 pages from here on, or 3 pages from here is page 14. It's the start of the notes. There's nothing super exciting here. It goes through in great detail all the accounting policies and procedures we use for the audit. So if you just really want to nerd out and learn what modified cash basis is and program revenues, this would really spell it out. Really, for me, it's exciting stuff, but for you guys, I hope it's not exciting for you. 4 pages from there on page 18. I just always like to point out to readers that all of your cash was secured by FDIC insurance or pledged securities as of the end of the year. This is a state statute, so we are in compliance with said state statute. Obviously, we're 6 months into the year. The bank hasn't closed, so it's not really an issue, but it's something that should be monitored on a monthly basis to show that we need to make sure as good safeguarders of the district cash that it is all secured, which it is. The next page, 19 through 20, this shows our long-term debt. So I guess another big thing that people care about is how much money do we owe? And this shows you So as of June 30th, we owe about 19 million in bonds. We paid off our capital lease, and then in the prior year, we had about 525,000 of tax anticipation notes. Those were paid off during the year. So as of the end of the year, we had about 19 million in total debt. The next page will show, so a little bit lower on that page, it shows you each bond issuance and how much there is. And then the next page shows you by bond, shows you by year how much debt we have. So we're paying debt through 2037. All of that debt is obviously covered by taxing, so you don't have to worry about using the general fund to make any of those debt payments. It always go through the debt service fund. Page 24 through 27, this is going to be our budgets. So each fund gets its own budget. We originally budgeted a $98,000 profit, so to speak. You know, I just did an air quote, which I don't know if you could see it, air quote, 98,000 profit. We then amended the budget for $170,000. And then we ended up at a $671,000 of, you know, and the major point of how do we accomplish this is when you originally budget to spend 4.4 million and you only spend 3.8 million, you know, you spend 600,000 less than you projected to, you're going to end up with 600,000 of overall profit. So that's kind of a testament to what the board is doing, to what management is doing to keep costs down. And, you know, taxpayers should be happy about that when we spend well below what we have budgeted. Especially, you know, a recipe for success, bring in more revenue than you projected, spend less than you had, you're always going to win. And this just kind of shows the budget across all the different funds. The last page I'd point you to would be page 37, which is far into the audit. This is our report on internal control. So we've also issued a report on internal control over compliance. We found no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies that require reporting in the financial statement. So part of the requirement from DESI is that we do what's called a yellow book audit. It's actually it's a government auditing standards is what we apply in there, but it's kind of yellow book. And though you don't care why it's called yellow book, is many years ago, the book actually with all the standards was yellow. So that's how creative accountants are, is they named an entire thing just cut by the color of the book they offered to everyone. It's now blue, and so they now call it the blue book as well. But for us old people, it's the yellow book. And I bored you enough. So I open it up to questions now if anyone has anything.
Does anybody have any questions? All right. I'm seeing none. I think everybody heard some good news of a clean report. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you to the staff. You know, it's always a normal audit is difficult enough, and then when you have to do it, you know, under COVID conditions, the staff came through still with flying colors, and you know, allowed me to come in and work on stuff. So I say thank you to the staff for, you know, making the time for me to come in and get everything done and to have it all done cleanly as well. So thank you.
Great. That's very good to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Appreciate your work as well in helping out. So if there's no other questions, we just need a motion to approve 5.01, the district financial audit.
Motion.
Move to approve.
Okay. And then can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second. All right. So let's go ahead and take a vote on this. We will start with Adam.
Aye.
Della,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Faye. Faye,
Aye.
there you go. Pete,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Thank you very much. So 5.01, the approval of the district financial audit has been approved. And then I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session 5.02. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, second. Let's start with Della,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Faye,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
and Adam.
Aye.
All right, so we are adjourned for this meeting. And just a reminder to the board members that there is a separate link for Zoom for the executive session. So we will see you there in just a moment. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. And yeah, have a great